one of the things I hear far too often is how difficult it is to remain, motivated towards your purpose. So on this episode, we're going to tackle this topic of motivation, and I'm going to share with you some very practical concepts around motivation, how we remain motivated, and how you can stay motivated towards your purpose. You're listening to the Joshua Mentality. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Joshua Mentality. As you can tell, I am very excited about yet another week with all my TJM tribe members out there. So if you are listening, I want to be the first to wish you a good week. I hope your week is going well. I know we're in the middle of it, but hopefully so far it's going well. And if it hasn't, then you got 2 more days to make up for it, all right? So stick with it and you'll get through it. So to continue our weekly countdown of the year, I need to inform you that we have officially arrived to week 34. Yes, we're only 4 weeks away and we will be in the 20s, and that's when everybody starts to freak out, all right? Including myself, because I can't believe, again, that we're just chugging along here. What else? Oh, yes, something else I think that's very important to mention is that this weekend is a very special day. And if you're like me, sometimes you get caught up in your months and you might forget that there's a very special day arriving. So I'm gonna help my fellas out here. Mother's Day is this Sunday. So do yourself a favor if you have not yet, made plans to go see your mom or to get your mom a nice little gift to say thank you for not only pushing me out, but putting up with me. Or if you don't, maybe there's a mother figure in your life that you want to say thank you to and honor. I don't, whatever it is, find a mom, even if it's not yours, and honor her. All right. Mothers are just tremendously valuable and just phenomenal beings on our earth. So we want to honor them, they are the queens. So there's my little tip to start off this week, to help you finish this week. Do something. Find a way to honor the mother in your life or the mother you wish you had in your life, all right? We'll move on from that. In other news, if you are a first-time listener, I want to first welcome you to the podcast. So happy to have you. I also want to clarify what this podcast is about. It's about life purpose and really serving as the coach or your coach to help you drive you towards reaching the destiny that your life was created for. So we do that in several ways, but one of the main ways is just having conversations around topics related to your life purpose and reminding you constantly just how incredibly valuable you and your life are and how much we need the value that's inside of you. I think that creates a lot of synergy that's positive, and that hopefully inspires you to get up every day and go out and go after that life purpose that's already inside of you. So that's my little spiel. I like to give that every time just to make sure we welcome in those who are just now joining. All right. But let's get into this week's conversation. It's around a topic that I probably have spent a lot of time talking about over the years. And I've actually had a love-and-hate relationship with this topic, and it's the topic of motivation. And the reason why I say I've always kind of had a love-hate relationship with this topic is because really early in my speaking career, I would always be asked, are you a motivational speaker? And I don't know why, but I really hated that idea. I hated the idea of being a motivational speaker. And it was really because I think motivation at that time, I thought motivation was just so short-lived. It felt like you were asking me, are you a sheep? Like, are you just giving people fluff? And I didn't want to ever accept that because I felt like I was offering people way more than just fluff. So I had a love-hate relationship with that topic until I read a book by Daniel Pink. And I like the way that he breaks down this topic of motivation. I'd encourage you to go look up some of his work. But this particular book, which I can't think of the name of the book right now, but maybe I'll put it in the show notes. It is on motivation, and he breaks it down into 3 what he calls forces of motivation and kind of 3 zones that we operate out of. So we're going to get into those 3 because I want you to see how those 3 can correlate to our life purpose or how fervent we are going after the dreams that have been placed in our heart, and really discovering and doing that search work to figure out our gifts, strengths, skills, and talents. So before we get into that, though, I think the starting point that I want to establish so that everybody is invited to this conversation is, if you are someone that's been on the outskirts of motivation, or you see people that are really driven, that are, they just seem like they're grinding and accomplishing so much every day, but you feel like that's not you, don't worry. There is space for you in this conversation as well. In fact, I spent the majority of my life just like that. And it was because well, let me say it this way. For me, it was easier to be distracted from my purpose than to be distracted by my purpose. I'll say that again. For me, it was very easy to be distracted from my purpose than to be distracted by my purpose. Today, we're going to get into this motivation talk on how you can be distracted by your purpose, by staying motivated to move towards it. But I think it's important to start off with all of us who have experienced being distracted away from our purpose. And part of the biggest reason that we go down this road is because it can be very stressful and overwhelming when you are trying to think about, you're comparing yourself to all these people who seem to know what they're doing with their lives, and here you are having no clue, or can't really find a consistent path that you want to stay on. But that's all a part of it, because what we usually find is that when we are distracting ourselves from our purpose, what we do is we get overwhelmed. That leads to kind of an avoidance technique, and it's just like we do with like food, right? All food that we take is not good for us, but there's a lot of food that's good to us. Like, we enjoy it. I think about Five Guys probably once every other day, but I know if I eat it every time I think about it, it's probably not going to be good for me, even though it's good to me. And those distractions are the same way. They may feel good to us to be distracted, to get on social media and waste time, to I don't know, you'll sit in front of the TV and waste time, to go out and, spending time with people who aren't moving anywhere, or aren't contributing to our life purpose. All that stuff can be good to us, but not good for us. So I want you to really key in, lock in, lean into this conversation, because I want you to get motivated and moving towards all the greatness that's inside of you that we need. And quite frankly, if you can't look around in your community and society today and can't tell that valuable life purpose is needed, then you might need to do like me and schedule an eye exam. All right. Which I really need to do that. Anyways, let's get into this topic on motivation. I want to talk about these three forces of motivation and how they relate to our life purpose, or at least share some stories of how I've seen these unpack in my life. The first force of motivation is the starting point that we all kind of begin at. And it's the force of autonomy. It's the motivational force of autonomy. And this is the need to self-direct. So what does that look like? I'll tell you, for me in school, my parents would always tell me the same thing. Joshua, you have so much potential, but you don't like to apply yourself. And it was true. I was comfortably the C student. It did not bother me to see my cousins and all of them getting straight A's. I really was happy for them, genuinely. But I felt like they were working harder, not smarter. Once I realized all I needed was a C to get to the next place, it's like, why put any more effort than that? And a lot of you are probably even laughing at this because you identify. You were that person, or maybe you were the straight A student, which, whatever. Good for you, all right? No bitterness at all as I say that. But the point is, I realized after I graduated, that's how long it took me. After I graduated college is when I realized this, that part of my struggles in school and why it was hard for me to stay motivated for school was because there was not a lot of autonomy. There wasn't much autonomy at all. And I like how Daniel Pink says it in his book. He says, control will lead to compliance, but autonomy leads to engagement. And that was me all the way. The control of saying, hey, you better go to school and you better do well enough to get to the next grade, that led to compliance. Yeah, I'll go to school and I'm going to get a C. because that is all I need to get to the next grade and make it past the compliance level. But what I realized is after I graduated, this whole new world opened up as I began to discover more about myself, as I began to discover more about my gifts, strengths, talents, and skills. It led to more autonomy. And that autonomy, when I graduated, it was like, man, if I'm good at speaking, I want to get better at that. If I have the gift of communication, I want to get better at that. I want to get better at this and that. And if I'm a learner, then no wonder I enjoy taking in new information. So all of that discovery, we talked about those 4 zones, right? Dreams, discovery, development, decisions. When I got into that discovery zone and translated from my dreams to discovery, a whole new world of autonomy opened up, and that led me to really focusing on developing those things, which leads to the next motivational force, and that is the force of mastery. Now, mastery is all about it's the intrinsic motivation to get better and to master a skill. And I want you to look at these two things together, right? So you start at autonomy. You start at realizing that I have value. There's value in my life. And because there's value, and because there are gifts, strengths, talents, and skills that were given solely to me to give back to the earth, I want to master that. I want to master that. And mastering that will give me a greater return because it's already a part of who I am. And that's why I get really frustrated with people, and I'm kind of teetering back and forth between autonomy and mastery. But I want to say this. If you're someone who, like me, has ever uttered the words of you hate reading or stuff like that, or you hate, sitting in on things that teach you, and maybe it's not your type of learning, but just any type of learning you seem to kind of push away, I want to really challenge you. Because when you get some autonomy in your life and you realize that you don't really have to learn anything, right? It's all really a privilege to learn and to have access to resources to learn. I promise you, I'm not going down the path of your parents or your teacher, but I want you to really understand this. The autonomy in knowing your life purpose and your gifts, strengths, skills, and talents. The autonomy of knowing that, it will lead you to a mastery level that will ignite an intrinsic motivation. No one will have to tell you to go sit down and write when you realize naturally you have a gift of writing. No one will have to tell you to go take that math course. I don't even know the highest levels of math to maybe engineering. No one will have to tell you that when you realize, man, I'm really good with numbers. And you start to discover what's all the like how far you can go with that skill set. The mastery kicks in after we realize the gifts, strengths, and talents that we have the autonomy over. Everything that your life was meant for, you have autonomy over. You have autonomy over every valuable thing within you. How are you mastering it? How are you mastering all of those things that are inside of you? Because focusing on that mastery, you may not see it now because you're on the outskirts of motivation. But by focusing on that mastery, you will ignite intrinsic motivation. What is intrinsic motivation? Intrinsic motivation is the internal focus, right? It's an internal focus to just set your attention on what really matters. It's the desire to do things simply because they matter. So think about that. To be distracted by purpose is to be distracted knowing that I matter. So there's an automatic intrinsic kind of roar and a wave that just spreads over your life because you realize, hey, I matter. So therefore, this skill matters. This talent matters. This, place that I'm in right now that may not even look like what I wanted for my life, but it matters because I can see it in the grand scheme of my life purpose. I hope that's making sense. It's hard sometimes to tell when these conversations when I can't see you, but I hope that's resonating. That mastery level is really important because that mastery level signifies that you are doing the work to discover who you are. You're investing into you, and that investment doesn't always mean money. I told you money's like the fourth most valuable currency on the list. Investing can just be time. Investing can be knowledge. Investing can be relationships, getting around people that will pour into you. But I'm preaching to the choir because you're here, and that's why I can't get on you too much. But you get my point, right? That motivational force of mastery can be, man, it can be so incredibly valuable. So incredibly valuable when you are intrinsically motivated to get better and to master a skill. So, simple question. What skills are you mastering right now? Just right now, if you look over the last 30 days of your life, what skills have you been intentionally improving upon? What talents have you been intentionally just investing your time into? And this isn't something to indict you, but this is to an awareness check. We got to assess and audit what we're doing with our time. If you are not, or if you have not been investing or kind of spending your time on mastering that skill or those skills, I encourage you to take a step this week. Like I said, you got 2 days left. What can you do tomorrow and the next day to take one step, 1%, 1%, one step towards? Put that 5-minute timer on and let's start mastering. All right. I spent a lot of time on that one because I think it's very important. And because this last motivational factor or motivational force is one that we talk about every week. And that's purpose. And purpose is the ability to connect to a larger cause. Look at that. Daniel Pink, he didn't even know about the Joshua mentality, and he's already speaking my language. It's the ability to connect to a larger cause, and it's the highest form of motivation. Look at that. The highest form of motivation is none other than purpose. So you go from autonomy, being able to self-direct and knowing that, hey, I have the autonomy in my life, or at least some autonomy in my life. Then you go to mastery, when you discover all of the gift, strengths, skills, and talents under your autonomy, and then you get to purpose. And that purpose piece is what we always talk about here. And that's kind of the why. That's the substance. The purpose is, why are you going towards what you're going? And I'll give you the perfect example. I was very motivated in high school to play basketball and to sit outside my parents' house till like 9, 10 at night, trying to perfect the jump shot, trying to perfect the left hand. And I didn't want to admit it then, but now I can look back and see that the only real reason I wanted to be a basketball player was, number one, at the most general surface level, I had some skill sets. I was quick. I could jump high. So, it felt right. Oh, of course I'm supposed to go to the NBA, right? Because I can do those things. It's not like there's no, CEOs or leaders who can do those same things, but will never take a step in the NBA. Of course not, right? But what I didn't realize was at that point was that my real why, the reason why I wanted to do that, it was all related to money. It's because I was growing up in a poor town, and I just wanted to not have to worry about money, not have to worry about needing anything or being broke. And that's why I would see all the NBA players. They looked like me. They had, they came from many of the same backgrounds as me. And it just made sense. And I think that's a great example that I want to really stand out in your mind. Maybe you don't have any plans or never had any plans to go to NBA. That's fine. But what I really want you to focus on is how much our vision can impact our outlook on our purpose. Much of what I was aspiring for was all related to what my vision was limited to. And that's why it's so important that you see you the way that I see you, the way that God sees you. Because your vision, if it's limited and if it's not accurate, it will cost you your why. And you'll be chasing a dream that was never meant for you. I believe to the core of me, even if I would have gotten to the NBA, I would not have been fulfilled, because this is a part of what fulfills me. The speaking, coaching, training, developing, like that's what feeds me. Offering strategies, for businesses, like these are the things that in my, the last 10 years, I've discovered. And you may be someone right now listening to this that you're chasing a dream, but you've never asked yourself why. You've never dissected the purpose behind why you're going after that or why you want that thing. And that's very important to do. Because the root of that, as we've been talking about here, that's the highest form of motivation. And if you're spending your highest form of motivation on something that lacks substance, that's rooted in something as I want to say, it's not artificial, but it's more so, it doesn't have any deep roots. Money is a tool meant to build things that serve people. So if the purpose is only to make money, we know a lot of people who make money and aren't happy or aren't fulfilled, for a better term. And I don't want you to be one of those people. So don't let your vision limit your purpose. Don't let your vision limit your purpose. See yourself the way you were created to be seen. You have value within you, but you have to take autonomy over that value. And once you take autonomy and you dig up the gold and you realize what skill sets, what strengths, what talents that are in your hands, then it's up to you to master those things, to put in the work, to master them. And how long will that take? Well, it can take as long as you're breathing. Put in the work, and that will feed your sense of purpose. And that sense of purpose will keep you motivated. The sense of purpose is what keeps me motivated and showing up every week. The sense of purpose is what keeps me every day with this echoing in my head saying, hey, you got to fulfill your potential. You got to fulfill your potential. And I'm going to be the echo in your head telling you the same thing. And together we'll all stay motivated and moving towards the success that our life was meant for. All right. So that concludes this week's episode. I hope you found it to be somewhat valuable. If so, please do not forget to like, subscribe, comment. Let us know how you're enjoying this. And by us, I mean me and everyone else who's listening to this. Let's create a little community and keep each other going towards our purpose. All right. So as always, I want to remind you to be sure that you understand and remember that success is your destiny.